Hey, what's going on, vets? Markel here, back with another video. So we got some stuff in the news, and I got a couple of comments I want to comment on or respond to that was left behind. Okay, so let's get started. So in the news recently, as of today, actually, there was a soldier who was in Korea who found himself in a little bit of trouble. At least this is what's being reported, that this soldier was facing disciplinary action, decided to go on a tour to the demilitarized zone between South Korea and North Korea. And during that tour, voluntarily went over into North Korea, where he was quickly detained by North Korean soldiers. Now, there's this big situation now going through about getting this soldier back. Now, I'm gonna tell you my opinion, and I'm only going off what's been reported. What's being reported is he was going to be disciplined anyway. They were going to send him back to the states. He decided that he did not want to go back, and he wanted to try to go into North Korea to avoid the disciplinary actions. As far as I'm concerned, leave his ass there. He made a conscious decision, and I'm basing this off of current reports. So if the reports change, obviously my opinion is going to change. But as of the reports right now, leave his ass right there. That's where he wanted to go. Let him stay there, deal with it. That's my opinion on it. Now, some of you all opinion may be different, but this person voluntarily went. They didn't force him to go. It wasn't like he didn't know that they showed the area on the news. It's clearly marked, and there's soldiers there everywhere telling you, hey, you can't go over here. You voluntarily go. And they can't have weapons on them, right? They represent the UN, so they don't have weapons. So you just gonna go over there? All right, cool. Go do your thing, dog, because I'll leave his ass right there, all right? All right, so let's move to the comment section. I got a couple of comments I want to respond back to. I responded back to them in the comment section, but I want to make it clear in this video, things that I left behind in the comments. So the first and most recent comment was a comment from someone who has a 70% PTSD rating. They've had that rating for over 20 years. They got it back in 2020. And, it's 23 years old now. So it's got the 20-year protection. And they got a recent rating in 2021. And that rating got reduced. It went from 50% to 10%. So they were asking me, they were like, hey, I thought I had the 20-year protection, like they couldn't do anything with my rating once it reached 20 years. Because at first he had me confused, thinking that his 20-year rating got reduced. No, his 2-year rating got reduced. And I always tell you guys, if it's less than 5 years, I don't care if you want 100% PNT. If it's less than 5 years you've had that rating, they can take it all away. They can reduce it, they can take it all away, they can do whatever they want in that first 5 years. I have a rules video explaining this. It's called the 5, 10, 20, 100% rule, okay? You guys should go check that out and educate yourself when it comes to specific dates for your disability. So anyway, once he explained it properly, that it was a rating that he recently got, and I was like, okay, so more than likely, you went to a CMP exam. The CMP examiner determined that whatever your issue was that you applied for an increase was no longer bad, it had actually gotten better, and they were able to prove that during the CMP exam, which is why the VA then put in for you to have your rating reduced, which is what they did. Now, you can always appeal the decision, which is what I told him in the comment section. You want to appeal it, you want to fight it, and you want to show medical evidence where this is wrong, or they make sure that they got the right person, because VA personnel is not perfect, okay? They can see you, get y'all files mixed up, and they sent your information to somebody else and somebody else's information on your file, and now the whole thing is screwed up. So they're not perfect. And this is why you want to file an appeal, to make sure that they got this information correct. Well, he decided he's just going to leave it alone because he wasn't sure. He thought he had a 20-year protection. So again, I'm going to repeat myself. It is very important that you know the dates of your disability, because if you're going to file for an increase, you need to know what could possibly happen filing for that increase, especially if you've had that rating less than 5 years. You got no protections less than 5 years. After 5 years, they need to show more of a consistency. After 10 years, it's got to be over a steady period of time. And then at the 20-year mark, Ain't much they can do unless they can prove fraud. Okay, same with 100%. It is very hard. Okay, it is very hard for the VA to take away someone's rating once they hit that 20-year mark, and especially once you hit 100%, because unless they can prove fraud, bro, it is very hard for the VA to take that away. But if they made an error when rating you, or like I said, they mixed up files and got your file confused with someone else's, and it's within the first 5 years, yeah, there ain't no protection for you on that, dog. P&T or not, there is no protection for you on that at all, period. All right. Now let's move to the last comment that was left, which was a comment regarding the changes to the way bilateral ratings are now calculated. All right. And Ira is the one that left the comment. And let me say this first before I get into that comment. Links are normally blocked on YouTube. If you're sending me a link to another YouTuber's channel, typically I never see it. It is normally blocked by the system, not by me, by the system. Somehow though, this particular link from Ira actually got through and I saw it. I clicked on it and it was basically a vet explaining that in April, which you guys should have got a newsletter from the VA explaining this, which is why you should sign up for the VA's newsletter if you have not, that in April, they had a rule change to the way bilateral ratings are now added up if your bilateral rating wasn't used in your initial determination of your total rating. So in other words, if you have a bilateral rating, just say you have issues in both knees and they did bilateral and then they added 10% to give you that overall rating, you wouldn't be in this change. This rule change wouldn't affect you because they used it. But let's say you're someone who has a rating, you ended up getting another rating later on and it could have been used bilateral to move you up to the next level and they didn't do it. Those are the people where this rule change is going to help. Now, since April, according to the VA, they have been working on claims going back, making sure that the ratings that the veterans get are correct based upon the new rules, if you believe the VA. I'm just gonna say you're much better off if you know how to calculate it on your own. Do your own calculations, double check, triple check before you go down there raising hell and letting them know, hey, I should be at 80% instead of 70% based upon this new ruling. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Do not go down to the company office and embarrass yourself thinking that you know that these numbers are right when you didn't add it all up correctly. So if you don't know how to do bilateral, right, you can call the 800 number and ask them to walk through your rating. And then when you get to something that is possibly bilateral, like 2 ankles, 2 wrists, 2 shoulders, 2 hands, 2 feet. Normally feet, you know, they normally do that bilateral, especially if you got plantar fasciitis. If you got it in one, you more than likely got it in the other. Same with ankles or knees and hips. They're usually bilateral, but sometimes they do make a mistake. So if your rating was high enough with the bilateral rating and your bilateral numbers are high enough to move you to the next level, then yeah, it is definitely worth calling the VA and making sure they got it right. Because there's a huge difference between 60% and 70%, 80% and 90%, and definitely 90 to 100. There's a huge difference in pay. So it is well worth it if they didn't use the numbers. But if they used it in a bilateral rating originally when you got your disability, yeah, like I told Ira in the comment section, there's going to be very few people who benefit from this because the majority of the time, they're going to give you that bilateral rating. So there's not going to be many people that actually benefit from this new rule change. There's going to be a few, but not very many. I guarantee you that. All right. But with that being said, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hey, I appreciate everybody watching as always. Going back to the old school way of doing videos. Forget all that music and trying to show all that other stuff. Just straight talk, give it to you guys straight. Back to that way of doing videos. I may go out to different locations and do these types of videos as well. You know, I'm in that mood, or that mode, excuse me, of going minimal. So things like that camera back there, I'm getting rid of. My other Miller's camera, I'm getting rid of. I got all these other cameras that I can use, like my cell phone that I'm using right now. And that's what I'm gonna go back to, man. Just being basic, keeping things simple, not trying to make it too complicated. I know the music sometimes can be a bit much for some people, so we're just gonna make it old school, man. Just me with the camera, telling you about whatever it is and trying to explain it the best way I can. Now, when it comes to like doing math or a particular article, or I need to show you something specific, I'll do it on the live on my MacBook Pro, bring it up and show you exactly where you can find it like I did it before. But when it comes to these pre-recorded videos, I think I want to go back to just doing it the old school way. The background is the background. I live like any other person out there. I'm not any different than any other veteran that's out there. You know, just trying to do my best to show you what I can to help the next person move up so they can help the next person move up. All right, guys, so that's it. I'm out. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your day.